When a voter walks into a polling station, the first person they will meet outside the polling station will be a queuing clerk. We have polling stations that have large number of voters, or they have many stations in one compound. So they will find a queuing clerk. The queuing clerk will guide them to the correct polling station where they should cast their vote. So once the voter is able to access inside the polling station, he will be received by the clerks and by the presiding officer, and he should have an ID which is original or a passport. That is according to what document he used to do his voter registration. And the clerks will confirm whether his details are in the register. He will also be required to have his biometrics confirmed in the KIMS kit. Then he will be required by the clerk to have his fingerprints put in the KIMS such that his details will appear. And once his details appear and they are matching and they are agreeing with the details in the ID, then he will be allowed to proceed now to have the ballot papers. 6 ballot papers for the 6 selective positions will be issued to that voter, and he will be directed to the booth. At the booth, we expect the voter now to mark for the candidates that he prefers. And after marking, we expect the voter now to also be assisted, if he's not able, to be assisted to place them in the right ballot boxes. You realize that the ballot papers have the same colors. They match with the leads of the different elective ballot boxes. So that we expect the voter to place the ballot papers inside the correct ballot box. The colors should be able to match. Once he's done with casting his vote, he will be required now to be marked his small left finger. We have the small left finger. He will be marked using the indelible ink. And from there, he will be requested to leave the polling station and await for results at home. The KIMS kit do not rely on any network. What relies on network connectivity is the transmission part, which comes in the evening once the presiding officer is done with counting and announcement of the results. But the KIMS register does not use any network. It is in the KIMS, and once the voter puts in their details and they put in their biometrics, then the details are able to pop up. A spoilt ballot, we don't call it a vote, we call it a spoilt ballot. It is that ballot which is issued to a voter, and before they cast it inside the ballot box, they realize they had made a mistake, and therefore they require to be given another one. In such a scenario, we call it spoiled, and it is not put inside the ballot box. It is put in a separate envelope for spoiled ballots, and it is therefore not cast, therefore not counted as a vote. Now, in the polling station, we have some do's and don'ts that a normal voter can do and what he cannot do. For example, let me begin with the do's. A voter should carry their ID or their document that they use to register, that is a do, and they should come within the time of voting, that is between 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., and they should be able to access the ballot papers and vote. Now, if they are not able to read and write, a voter can also come along with a person to assist them, and that person can only assist once. If they do not have somebody to assist them, the presiding officer, who has already taken an oath of secrecy, can also assist that person to vote, but in the presence of the agents who are there. Now, we have some don'ts. Now, a voter should not come to a polling station wearing, let me call them fanafalnalias, or those clothes that can really that portray a particular party, because it elicits a lot of politics in a polling station, and it may not end up well. Again, a voter should not also talk within a polling station. It is not allowed. They should come quietly, vote, and go. They should not campaign inside a polling station. It is not allowed. And remember, a polling station has a perimeter of 400-meter radius. So once they're in that radius, then they should not make noise. Now, the ballot boxes have different colors, which are also enshrined within our election regulations. You can see the president has white, the governor has blue. The colors are different, and this is meant to assist the voters to be able to know where to cast their vote. They are able to differentiate the ballot papers and be able to know where to cast a particular ballot for that election. We say the polling stations are closed at 5, and in the event we have voters on the queue, then the presiding officer requests the security person to stand behind the last person and secure the queue so that we don't have more voters streaming in after 5. And once the last voter has cast their vote, then the presiding officer declares the polling station officially closed, and therefore the room converts to become a counting station. Once it is a counting station, the presiding officer will begin by reconciliation of the ballots. You see, in the morning we began with this number of ballot papers. Some of them were spoiled, and therefore the presiding officer must reconcile and know how many were spoiled, how many were issued to the voters, and also fill the polling station diary. We have a diary that the presiding officer must keep on filling as the day goes by, so that you also update the returning officer on the proceedings of a polling station. Now, once you are done with reconciliation of the ballot papers, then the next step would be now to brief the agents on what constitutes a valid vote. So you take them through the process of what will be a rejected ballot and what is going to be a valid vote. And once you are in agreement and you are done with that, then the presiding officer now goes ahead and assigns the clerks their different roles during the counting, such that some particular clerks will take care of this candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, so that the counting is seamless. So once you are done with that, now you begin by now cutting the seals of the presidential ballot box. We begin by counting the presidential election. So you cut the seals and you pour the contents, all the ballot papers, at the glare of all the agents and everybody who's present in a polling station. So once you count them, once you pour them on the table now, you begin by sorting them. You find out which ones are, do they have the IEBC stamp, do they have the IEBC security features? And if they have the security features, now from there, now you begin assigning the votes to the particular candidates. If you come across a rejected ballot, then you stamp it rejected, and it is put in the rejected envelope, and you stamp it rejected. So you continue with the process until you count for every candidate, and as you count, you're also using the Form 33, which is a tally sheet, so that you don't, we are human and you're likely to forget also. So that if you began with candidate A, you can always go back to his tally sheet and confirm his votes, and therefore use the same tally sheet and fill in Form 34A. So Form 34A is a statutory result declaration form that is filled in a polling station by a presiding officer. So he will put all the results for all the candidates and stamp. He will welcome the agents who will also sign the result form, and then from there he will announce the results, and then he will transmit those results to the National Tallying Center.